Hey everybody, Happy New Year. First podcast of 2021. Let's hope that 2021 is a much better year than 2020. Since the Hot Stove League is kind of developing slowly this winter, there's not a lot of trades, not a lot of free agent signings with the exception of the Padres who have stacked up their rotation. But a lot of teams are kind of taking a methodical approach to building their roster for 2021, Yankees included. I think part of that is because a lot of teams lost a lot of money in 2020, and they want to make sure that whatever dollars they spend in 2021 are spent well. With that being said, I thought it would be a good time to take a look at some of the prospects that the Yankees have coming up in 2021 and see who could impact the Major League roster. We'll look at guys like Miguel Yajure, who made his Major League debut in 2020. Also Clarke Schmidt, who could factor into the rotation, and also guys who are a bit further away, guys like Jasson Dominguez, who remains the Yankees' top prospect but will not impact the roster this year, most likely. The first prospect I want to talk about is the aforementioned Miguel Yajure, a guy who's already made Major League history for being the first guy ever to wear number 89 in a Major League game. Shout out to YouTuber Ethan Tyndall for supplying me this footage. He's got a pretty good channel, and you should definitely check it out. Miguel Yajure actually made his Major League debut in 2020, but as a relief pitcher. But he's mostly been a starter in the minor leagues. He'll be 23 years old this season, so he's on the upper end of the age range to still be a prospect. But his minor league numbers are pretty good. In 2019, he was 9-6 with a 2.14 ERA. He pitched 138 innings, struck out 133 hitters, and walked just 30. He's known for his command, and although he doesn't overpower hitters with a really hard fastball, his fastball is mostly in the low 90s, he has a lot of success by pinpointing all of his pitches and making quality pitches each time. He probably won't factor into the rotation in 2021, but I think he could be a multiple inning relief pitcher. He, to me, projects as more of an Alfredo Aceves type. If you remember him, he's a guy who came in the middle of the game a lot for the Yankees and later on with the Red Sox and pitched a lot of valuable innings and picked up a lot of what's called vulture wins, where you come in with the game tied or trailing slightly, but he pitched 2 or 3 good innings and would end up picking up a win. And Yajure reminds me a lot of Alfredo Aceves. Not a guy who's going to overpower you with his stuff, but a guy who has pretty good command and is a pretty polished pitcher from the get-go. The next guy I'm excited to watch in 2021 is Luis Medina. He's a right-handed starting pitcher out of the Dominican Republic. He's going to be 22 years old, and he's got terrific, and I mean terrific stuff. 90s fastball, upper 90s fastball, improving command, really good straight changeup with some dip. And if you check out his numbers from the minor leagues, they're really not that good. They're horrible, actually. And that's mostly because he's always had control issues. But in the Puerto Rican Winter League, it seems as if he's kind of harnessed his stuff, and he's turning a lot of heads. I've seen a few articles saying that he could be the Yankees' new number 1 pitching prospect going into 2021. And I'm really excited to see how he develops because he's got very clean mechanics. And he doesn't seem to be throwing max effort when he delivers the baseball. He gets a ton of velocity without a ton of effort. His windup, honestly, is kind of carefree, and it reminds me a little bit of another Yankee starter, Domingo Germán. Estevan Florial is another guy that I'm more excited about now than I was before the 2020 season. He had a number of injuries, including a wrist injury, and he was never great at getting on base and working the count. But from what I saw this year, he's got the raw tools, and this goes back to spring training pre-COVID. He was really tearing the cover off the ball. And then he actually made his Major League debut in 2020, got a base hit, and he looks great in the outfield. He can really run. I don't really have a comparison that Estevan Florial reminds me of, but I will say that I like his swing, and if he can learn to get on base more, he's a left-handed hitter, he'll get an opportunity with the Yanks, even if it's as a 4th outfielder if Brett Gardner doesn't return. So Estevan Florial is somebody you should definitely keep your eye on. The next guy on my list is Anthony Volpe. He was the Yankees' number 1 pick in 2019. There's not a ton of footage of him because there was no minor league season last year, so he kind of lost a year of development. But he was taken 30th overall. He's a local kid from New Jersey. He's about 6 feet tall. He gets a lot of comparisons to Alex Bregman as kind of a short, compact type of hitter. But he's a shortstop. I don't know if he's going to remain on shortstop or if they'll think about moving him to second base or third base. Also, you got to wonder if his development factors into the whole DJ LeMahieu negotiations right now. Obviously Volpe is a couple years away. Earliest I've seen reports that he could make the major leagues is 2023. But if you re-sign DJ LeMahieu long-term and you've got Gleyber Torres, that kind of closes the spot for Volpe in 2023, which makes him available as a trade chip. So maybe you could use him to go out and get pitching. Either way, it'll be fun to see him develop if there's a minor league season, which I think there will be in 2021. The next guy on my list is a guy who I have not seen play yet. His name is Oswald Peraza. He's a shortstop, second baseman type of player, speedster. He's just 20 years old. He'll be 21 on June 15th of 2021. He's not known for his offense. He's much more of a defensive first type of player. And I'm always wary of prospects who really can't hit, because when you get to the big leagues, hitting a baseball is the toughest thing to do in all of sports. But it sounds like the scouts think that he's going to play defense well enough that he could at least reach the big leagues as kind of a journeyman infielder, or a guy who can play in late innings, come in for defense, that type of thing. But he's not really a superstar type of prospect. The next guy on my list is another guy out of the Dominican Republic, Luis Gil. It looks like it's spelled Gil, but it's actually Gil. He was acquired from the Minnesota Twins as part of the Jake Cave deal. Now, the Yankees look at him as a big-time prospect, but the issue with Gil has always been injuries. He's been on and off the field a lot throughout his professional career, but there's no question about his stuff. He's got the frame for a pitcher. He's 6'2", 185 pounds, and he's got an upper 90s fastball, 96 to 98. And if you can throw 96 to 98, pitching coaches are going to try and tweak your mechanics to take less pressure off of your arm and off of your body in general so that you can stay healthy. He's got the stuff, and 98-mile-an-hour fastballs don't grow on trees, so let's hope that Matt Blake and some of the new guys from Driveline that have come to work for the Yankees can work with this kid and get something out of him. The next guy on my list is Albert Abreu. He's a guy who we got a brief glimpse of in 2020. He came up against the Rays. His name had been on the radar for a while. And then he had a 96 to 97 mile an hour fastball as advertised. His command didn't seem amazing. He seemed to throw a few too many pitches down the middle, but he did have a really good changeup, which he threw low and away to lefties, and it got good fade at about 87, so about 10 miles an hour difference from his fastball, which is exactly what you want. And if he's not going to be a starter, if he can just pitch out of the bullpen, really a fastball and a changeup is enough to get it done if they're both really good pitches and you can throw them where you want, just as Trevor Hoffman. So Albert Abreu is a guy who may have a future if he's harnessed his control issues. If you've been following the Yankees for a while, then Clarke Schmidt is a name that you're very familiar with. Actually made his major league debut in 2020. He got the start on the final game of the season, which was kind of a nod to him to say, hey, look, if you keep improving, next year you might have a chance to be in the rotation. And Clarke Schmidt is a guy who, he went to college, so, he knows a lot about pitching. He's got the mental aspect down. He seems to have some poise. He's been taken under the wing of Garrett Cole, who is obviously one of the best pitchers in baseball. So that means that Garrett Cole can recognize his stuff. He's got good run to his fastball. He's got a really sharp breaking ball. He's got a couple of small mechanical issues that caused his command of the baseball to be kind of absent. He was kind of all over the place in 2020. But once he tightens those things up, and again, they are easy things to fix for professional pitching coaches, then sky is the limit for Clarke Schmidt. Now, there's been some talk that Clarke Schmidt could be a guy that is included in a potential trade package. Again, the Yankees are trying to re-sign DJ LeMahieu. I believe that he is their top priority. But if he signs somewhere else, then the Yankees are probably going to have to go out and trade for a shortstop, whether it's Francisco Lindor or, to a lesser degree of possibility because he's right-handed, Trevor Story. If you make that deal, make one of those deals, you're going to have to include Clarke Schmidt for the most part, because he is one of the Yankees' top pitching prospects. He's not untouchable. He's a first-round pick. But again, he's got some work to do to get better. So a quick hello to everybody who fast-forwarded to this part of the video to watch the Jasson Dominguez segment. As you can see, I've got my Not Human hoodie on. Jasson Dominguez, otherwise known as the Martian, is without a doubt the most hyped Yankees prospect. He's the number one prospect on every list I've seen. He's a center fielder. He's going to be 18 years old this year. He's a switch hitter. He's incredibly jacked, maybe even too jacked for a 18-year-old kid. He's got incredible power. Everything that the scouts say are that he effortlessly throws 96 miles an hour, that he produces exit velocities of, 110, 115. Granted, these are off of his teammates and off of pitching machines and things like that. We have not gotten to see him against actual minor leaguers trying to get him out yet. That's what I'm most excited for in 2021. I want to see what he does against actual competition. I've heard enough of the hype. I've heard enough of the praise. He's got to go out and perform now. We know who he is. We know that he's got all of the ability in the world. Let's see him go out on the field and do his thing. That's what I'm most excited for out of anything in 2021 other than just the return of Yankees baseball. I really want to see Jasson Dominguez tear up the minor leagues. I did a video a while back where I talked about other minor leaguers, other teenagers who reached the major leagues, how they did in the minor leagues. Guys like Juan Soto, guys like Mike Trout, guys like Bryce Harper. Universally, they had really good minor league seasons. So I think that if Jasson Dominguez has a bad minor league season, then it will be evidence that he's maybe a bit overhyped. But if he tears up the minor leagues, as I think he's going to from watching him, then, it's going to be an exciting next few years for the New York Yankees. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. It helps other Yankees fans find the channel. Sponsorships are always available, so feel free to reach out to me on Twitter at NYYRecaps. Thanks for watching.